And that's fun and that's cute. But what we found was it was a theme that was meaningful, because the tension between work versus play is something kids and parents talk about all the time. How much homework is too much homework? How much playtime is too much playtime? How much time at work is too much for the parents? And shouldn't they be playing with the children and finding that balance? And so we found it to be a resonant theme that way. A similar resonant theme we found when we were working on Pixie Hollow. So we were very inspired in creating Pixie Hollow by this book, Last Child in the Woods. And Last Child in the Woods is a documentation of how play patterns have changed in the last 30 to 40 years, because they have changed a great deal in that children no longer go outside. The book is full of statistics about how far children are allowed to go freely from the house, how long do they spend outside at a stretch compared to how they used to. It's changed in an incredibly dramatic way. And children are so separated from nature in the society that we have right now. And we were very concerned about this, because here we are going to make one more reason for kids to stay inside the house. So we kept thinking, well, what can we do about that? So partly we tried to make something that was respectful to nature. You know, the whole idea of the fairies in Pixie Hollow is they are the guardians of nature. And then secondly, we tried to put in aspects that would be at least a little bit educational. Kids who play this game come away knowing the difference between an oak leaf and a maple leaf, and that's something. But then we were also able to put in something I couldn't believe they let us get away with. Throughout the game, different fairies give you quests. Like Tinkerbell will give you a little quest to go and help somebody or go help some animals in the game. But there's one fairy who's special, and her name is Kit. And when you go and visit Kit, it's different. Normally, you see Tinkerbell's there and your fairy's there, and they have a conversation. When you go see Kit, your fairy's not there, and Kit is looking at you. And she says, "Hi, yeah, I'm Kit. I want to talk to you." "Yeah, no, you behind the screen. You're the one I want to talk to. You might think that you're just a fairy when you come to Pixie Hollow, and then when you leave, you're not a fairy anymore. But I'm here to tell you the truth, is that once you've been here, you're a fairy all the time. And I have some things that I need you to do after you leave Pixie Hollow." And she gives you quests like, go outside and find a pine cone, or find two trees that look like they might be friends and figure out what their names are. Or my favorite one of all, dig a hole. And of course, like, make sure you do this with your parents, etc., etc.
Okay, Schell, that didn't make any sense.
What, digging a hole doesn't make any sense?
All right, I'll let it go. Go ahead. That's a pass.
All right, thank you, Warren. Anyway, so another thing to jump on is nostalgia. Nostalgia is a really great way to bridge the generation gap between parents and children. An obvious example is Disneyland. Disneyland's now been in place for over 50 years. Many people, remember going to Disneyland or even Disney World when they were children, and it's an experience they want to share with their kids. And so you can have these old things that parents want to share, and that can be a good way to bridge. But even things that are a little newer, like SpongeBob SquarePants is a really interesting example. He's a relatively new character, but he has very classic elements. He's clearly a descendant of the whole Looney Tunes line of characters that so many parents grew up with. And so that because he has these classic elements and this music from the 20s and this classic aspect, it can really foster conversations between parents and kids, because kids are really interested in what parents' childhoods were like, and these things can really foster those conversations. So the third tip is you want to understand what families want, and then you want to provide it. You need to figure that out. So what are the wants of families? Well, one of the things families really suffer with right now in our modern society is it's like all of society is trying to rip families apart. It used to be everyone gathered around one television in the living room and it was a family moment. Now everybody has multiple televisions. They go off and watch their own shows. There's 150 channels. Everybody's watching completely different programs. Everybody has digital distractions of all kinds. Mom and dad have things from work that are pulling them away in their pocket. Work's in your pocket all the time, right? Even when you're out playing with your kids. There's work in my pocket. I got to go deal with that. And the kids have these little handheld screens. Everything is just kind of pulling everybody in different directions. Divorce rates are up. There's more homework than ever. Work hours are longer than ever. The entirety of society wants to tear families to pieces. So if you can create something that brings families together and creates a bonding moment for them, it's now more valuable than ever. It is something that people want. And they want these shared experiences. One that I was very pleased with, we did this Hercules in the Underworld experience at Disney Quest. And I always like to check up on how our experiences go after they open. And this was a cave-based experience, as you all go into a cave and have this adventure together, 3D glasses, multiple projection screens around you, and you kind of go as a group and have this group experience, saving ancient Greece. And I remember being in line, and there's this family in line in front of me, and they are having a bad day, right? There's a lot of tension, and there's a lot of bark from each other. There's like this boiling trailer park anger that is happening here, right? You've got like an 11-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and dad, this gruff character, and he's really tired. He's barking at the two of them. The two of them are hitting each other and yelling and whining and complaining. They're all upset, and it's really uncomfortable and tense. And they go into the experience, and then of course I like to watch when people come out. And I get to see this family come out. And first the boy comes out, and he comes out and he says, "That was awesome." And the girl comes out and she's like, "That was cool." And then dad comes out, he's got his beer belly and his beard. And he says, "That was beautiful." Right? And it was an experience where the three of them got to do it together, and they got to not just see something beautiful together, but they solved the problem together. Because this is something families want. They want to have accomplishments together. Most of the accomplishments that individuals in a family have are very separate. Your accomplishments at school or at work or whatever are very separate from each other. I think this was part of the appeal of the movie The Incredibles. It was a story of a very fractured family that found they had to come together in order to solve problems together. And I think in terms of deep resonant theme, I think that's partly why it was so appealing. And that's one of the great things about games. Games give that opportunity for shared accomplishment. And of course, parents want to feel that they've provided meaningful, useful experiences. It's very important to parents that they feel that they've led their children through experiences that are going to be meaningful and useful to them. And so very often those are things that feel educational or involve problem solving. And beyond that, parents want to feel that they've provided. And it's something I've seen again and again at the theme parks. You see that parents, there's this, we're not just going here to have fun. There's something important in this migration that people do to the theme parks, where parents are sort of feeling like, I've provided my children with these rich, interesting experiences, and it's sort of validation that they've provided at all. And if you can find ways to make people feel like, yeah, I've provided something, and even better if it's something meaningful and useful, it can go a long way. Something you don't hear from kids very much, but it is totally true. Kids want to feel more emotionally connected to their families. You're not going to have that in a focus group, So Joaquin, what do you really want? I want to feel more emotional connection with my father. Yeah, okay, that's you're not going to hear that. But it's true, and when it happens, you see it in the kids' faces. So if you can find ways to kind of bridge that emotional connection, it means a lot. And related to that, both kids and parents want to connect to distant relatives. Again, we have a society where people are moving around more than ever before. People are far away from aunts and uncles and grandparents, and very often you have divorced parents living in separate states even. And we know that people are using digital technologies to connect more and more, but who among us has intentionally set out to create a game where they said, I'm going to design this game so that distant relatives can connect with each other in an experience that's meaningful to them. It's rare to have someone set out to do that. So fourth tip, parents really want to teach. They love teaching, and children want to learn. And so that's part of the reason educational experiences can be a great way to kind of bridge the gap between parents and children. But too often we make the mistake of saying this is an educational experience, that means the computer will be